today's presentation is on the topic of South Madison and the Park Street Corridor, which has a long, rich history to and as home to Madison's most diverse neighborhoods. We are going to hear more about the innovative public and private partnerships and the over $150 million in South Madison investment that is creating a model for inclusive economic development. This exciting South Madison Renaissance is being led by Black and Latinx-led initiatives, ensuring that the future of this important geographic area will be determined by the people who have shaped the history and the culture of the Park Street area. We're going to hear from three visionary South Madison leaders who are fostering innovative, led by and for their communities' projects. Our format will be as follows. We will first hear a five-minute overview from each of the panelists. I'll introduce them, and they'll come up to the podium, and then I'll be timing you as you give your 5 minutes. Don't worry, I'm gracious. Ask the people in the room. I can be gracious. Yes, yes. So they'll give a 5-minute overview of each of their initiatives, and then the remainder of our program will focus on some questions that I have specifically for them. So, Rotarians, you don't get to ask questions from the floor. Not today. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to introduce each panelist, and then as I introduce them, I'd like to ask you to please come up to the stage, take your seats on the stage, and then we'll start with the time for you to give your 5-minute overviews, and then we'll go right into the Q&A section. All right? Great. All right, first is Dr. Kim Menendez Coller, who has been Executive Director of Central Hispano since 2013. She received a PhD from the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health and has previously worked in academic, state, and local government settings. Next is Reverend Dr. Alex G., who is lead pastor of Fountain Life Church, president and founder of the Nehemiah Center for Urban Leadership Development and its renowned initiative, Justified Anger. He studied at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Fuller Seminary, and Bakke Graduate University, where he earned his doctorate. And our third panelist is Dr. RUBEN Anthony, who has been president and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Madison since 2015. Over the past 30 years, Dr. Anthony has been a senior manager in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. He studied at Marquette University, holds a master's degree in public policy administration from Jackson State University, a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and received a PhD degree in urban studies from the UW Milwaukee. So I'm going to pass, I'll leave it. Actually, you guys can pass the mic, and then I'll grab the mic from my seat. All right. So we'll give you an opportunity to have your 5-minute segments, and the first one to do that is Dr. Menendez Coller. Sorry about that. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Yeah. It's just so nice to be here. Whenever I come back, I always, I love the atmosphere here. I get a lot of peace and calm from it. And for the work that we do in the day-to-day, it's really wonderful to be in this kind of a space. And I see a lot of familiar faces, which is really nice. I'm here to talk a little bit about Centro. You know, we have these beautiful projects that you're going to hear about today. I want to focus on the faces of why this project is important. Specifically, at Centro, we provide family-centered holistic services for the Latinx community intentionally. We see roughly around
7,000 new individuals a year, about 2,500 families. We do the work for that mother, that picture that you see there. She puts all her hopes and her dreams into that young baby boy. We do the work for that middle schooler who's starting to thrive, starting to come into himself, and he needs a space for cultural identity so that he can bring that power back to the school district. We do it for our families who are trying to carve a path into diverse sectors where perhaps we're not as equally represented, and so we're doing it for the community. I always like to give a shout out to my colegas in the work whenever I get to present. So the Latinx Consortium for Action is a group of Latinx-led organizations that comes together, that provides action, strategy, and builds together. So just wanted to make sure and acknowledge them because part of the purpose of Centro is finding out how we fit into this picture and how I and Centro can complement the work of each of these entities. So if you think about Centro, it's an important place, and there are a couple of key points that you need to take away from this. That there's 100% growth in Dane County population over the last 10 years of the Latinx community. It's the fastest growing demographic in the city and county, and you see the trajectory is incredibly steep. So that means that we need to react, and we need to prepare, and we need to do the work together. Over the last 10 years, there's been tremendous growth at Centro. We've really been there to provide a space to meet the needs when it comes to the demand for workforce development programs that, I have to say, complement the amazing work of Dr. RUBEN Anthony and the amazing work of Dr. Alex G. We want to increase demand for culturally competent programs, especially when it comes to youth programming, because our kids are really our future, and the demographics show it here. And we want to meet the demand for community support and resources. We have a satellite office out in Sun Prairie now. We've expanded our case management programs in partnership with the Dane County Executive. We continue to build and react. We've been moving as fast as we can in the building that has been the same since we purchased it about 20 years ago. For those who haven't been to Centro, our current space that we love is the old Master Graphics print shop space. So it was bought a long time ago with the vision of moving on to this current place that we want to build now. We tripled our programs over the last 10 years, and we just need to have the space that honors the work. So this is actually the first time I've shown this rendering. We have an event next week in the back parking lot of our current facility at Centro from 4 to 6. It's a celebration of community. It's a celebration of where we are as an agency over the last almost 40 years and where we want to be. I invite every single one of you to come out. Come out and celebrate the vibrancy of South Madison. This is, we're going to be showing more renderings at the event, but this is one that our partners at EUA have crafted for the conversation today. So yes. And I have to tell you that this beautiful work wouldn't be possible if I wasn't inspired by the two men that are sitting next to me right now. And so many others that are in the space that are really have crafted the path so that I can start my work at Centro and feel that I can be successful and that our community is going to be protected. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Dr. Alex, you're next.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be in this room, and also, as Karen mentioned, to be in here with colleagues who I respect so much and who are doing great things in South Madison. I often say that any mid-sized city in America would give, as my grandmother would say, its eye teeth to have this degree of leadership and intelligence and community connection, and to have this all situated in South Madison is something that I think is going to bring national attention. And so I really just want to honor my colleagues as well. You know, I'm often asked to explain the Center for Black Excellence and Culture in different ways. I want to see what the timekeeper is. Okay, in unique ways. But I think today I want to contextualize it a little bit in history, because people will always ask, why culture? There's so many needs in the community. Why culture? about 100 years ago, there was a tremendous migration from the South to the North for black people. It was one of the harshest times in America's history. People will hear me say that and think, no, nothing could be harsher than slavery. During slavery, black people were protected because we were chattel property. And so no owner wanted their property killed. However, after the Emancipation Proclamation, when black people were competitive with their white counterparts, we became a threat to the economy, and progress actually became a death threat to us. But as we moved north out of the Jim Crow reality and sharecropping reality, our ancestors brought with them survival mechanisms of art, music, stories, cuisine, family, and hope. They desired outlets for art because embedded in that art were secrets of survival and success, deep community, culture, faith, and innovation. They created gathering spaces, we now call it Third Space, in order to share the story and this music. And as they did this in places like Harlem and other places in the North, it became our vaudeville, Broadway, Hollywood, Grand Ole Opry, Caesar's Palace, all rolled into one. It's where we told our stories of how we overcame. And if history were our story, then culture would be the costumes, the set design, the dance routines, and the soundtrack. The culture brought our story alive. And our ancestors survived because of their deep cultural intelligence and pride, and it's how and why we survived. In a community like Madison, we may have history, but not necessarily the context of black history. Story has been a real moral of the story. We were slaves, but why? And how did we survive? And did you know that we freed ourselves by fighting against our slaveholders? They're aspirants, but very little aspiration. Our stories of survival, innovation, and contribution are muted, and we're often left to assume that the headlines and the lead stories define our reality, our value, and our contributions. You may not know this, but in the late 1960s, UW-Madison had 1,200 black students. In the 1970s, Dr. Anthony may remember this, in 80s, the Wisconsin Association of Black State Employees, WAPSE, recruited scores of black people and retained them. However, the lack of a cultural home, gathering spaces for storytelling and a sense of belonging sent our black community elsewhere to find culture and community, and we lost them. And they are not just a loss of moral models for my children, but for your children as well. The center is going to be a space that incubates black culture, black innovation, black leadership, thus creating a new black history, which we call black excellence. We're going to focus on using culture to inspire black excellence and perseverance in our community. We want to use culture and history to inspire and teach our youth to become leaders of today and tomorrow. We want to enhance black wellness for every stage of life, creating and enhancing the quality of life not fully available to the black community in Madison, creating a cultural home for networking, celebrating, creating solutions, and strengthening the entire community and making this region more desirable for black people to live, creating space for black performing arts and visual arts so that it can take center stage in our community, and building a center to create a bold counter-narrative to affirm black success. This will be 60,000 square feet of confidence and morale-boosting space that will reinforce black excellence and a sense of home. We want to become a national model, that our state that is known for anything but being the best for black people, we believe that collectively we can turn this around. And I feel so honored and so proud to be able to talk about this vision in a community that has affirmed my leadership for the past 30 years as Nehemiah's founder and CEO, for almost 40 years as Founder of Life's pastor. And I believe that if this can happen anywhere in this country, where we will see a true renaissance and revival among black culture, thereby enhancing black excellence, it will happen generally in Madison, Wisconsin, but specifically in South Madison. Thank you.
All right. Hey, can you give my colleagues another round of applause? it's truly an honor to be here with you today, but even more honor to share the stage or share the podium with colleagues that I do respect, and they're both doing just wonderful work. So thank you for giving us an opportunity to talk to you today. The Urban League has been in Madison for over 50 years, and we've done work with workforce development, we've done work with schools, we've done work with housing. But today I want to talk to you about our Black Business Hub and what motivates us around the Black Business Hub. I'm originally from Yonkers, New York, and I spent a lot of time in Harlem when I was a kid. And a couple of years ago, I went back to Harlem, and some of my cousins and friends, they took me to the old neighborhood. The whole neighborhood was totally different. It had gentrified, and when I was there, it was 90%, 99.9% African American. But in Harlem now, it had turned from black to white, and I didn't see anything that I recognized. And I think that the same thing is threatening to happen, in South Madison. We have an African American, Latino, kind of a diverse enclave there that is threatened to be taken away, and I don't think that it's right. And so our projects emerge in the face of the gentrification that we see on the rise. So I just wanted to establish some context before I really went in to talk about the Black Business Hub. The purpose of the Black Business Hub is to create a space and programs for Black, brown, and other businesses that will meet these businesses throughout their life cycle and give them a place and give them resources that they can grow and not just serve South Madison, but serve the entire region. When I talked to Zach Brandon about this project, Zach Brandon says, this is the missing piece in the region, Ruben. We need to have this Black Business Hub, not just for South Madison. But when we look at the disparities that go on in Dane County, we need projects like the Center for Black Excellence. We need projects like Central Hispano, and we certainly need this economic game changer in the Black Business Hub. There are 10,000 businesses that have more than one employee in Dane County, and only 0.4%, only 39, 40 of them are Black businesses. When we looked at how things happened during the COVID crisis, all businesses suffered, but Black businesses suffered more. When they gave out the PPP loans, only 5% of the Black businesses that went for those PPP loans got loans. So 95% didn't get loans. So there's a problem. Even with government contracting, there's only a 2% goal being met, in city contracting. And so, the banking relationships, the access to capital and things are things that we just don't have. So we need a Black Business Hub. It'll be an 80,000 square foot building. 45,000 square feet of that building will be for hub tenants. 35,000 will be for those who will pay regular market rents. We have an accelerator program because the building is not just going to be a building. We will have programs there that will give the access to capital that they don't have now, give the access to training and assistance. We partnered with a national accelerator called Generator, and with Generator, we're running training programs for those who want to have businesses. We run already a training program called G Alpha, where we had 24 individuals to participate in that program to develop their business ideas. Right now, we're screening individuals for a G Beta program. That's a more intensified business program. We're only going to take 5 businesses there. We had 36 applications for that. Already, we start giving out loans and grants to businesses because we know that there's some businesses that are out there that couldn't get access to capital and they need our help. So we gave out 50 grants we gave out 5 grants for $50,000 to these businesses. We will have more economic development tools in this Black Business Hub than any other facility in the state. We have the Wisconsin Economic Development Council in the building, Summit in the building, WIBIC in the building, the Generator Program in the building, the Black Chamber of Commerce in the building, and many other partners in the building. The project will have significant impacts in this community. We will touch 100 businesses, like in the first couple of years, that may be in the building. She's giving me the hook now, and I got more to say. Why don't you do that to Alex G? No. We will create like 150 jobs, and so I'll have an opportunity to share more with you, but South Madison is the oldest minority enclave in this city, and we ought to be proud, and we ought to make it a destination. And the Black Business Hub, the Center of Black Excellence, and also Central Hispano will make this an important area for you for tourism and destination. I'll stop there.
All right. Now let's move into our Q&A section of the program. So I have 3 questions for each of them, and then if time remains, we have a final question to wrap up the program. So my first question is for you, Dr. Reverend Alex G. Yes. The question is, having worked in South Madison for over 30 years, can you please speak to the importance of maintaining South Madison's culture and history, and the important role of the connection to culture and history, and how it plays in life in making Greater Madison a place where all people thrive?
Thank you. And we just have 2 minutes with this one, right? Because Dr. Anthony and I are racing to see who's going to pay attention. I would just say that for those of you who don't know, we're not fortunate enough to grow up in South Madison. It was really way ahead of the curve for Madison's melting pot ideology. It was very diverse, and I'm going to show my age by saying this, but my classrooms at Lincoln Middle School look like room 222. I know younger people don't even know what I'm talking about, but some people know what I'm talking about. 60s babies, you know what I'm talking about. I want to tell this story really through the eyes of shopping at Johnny's store, which is on the corner of Kenwood and Bell Street. I, along with Amado Rodriguez, Fong Tran, Jim Cordio Jr., Saltine Ook, Rhoda Stanley, we all shopped there together for candy, canned goods, and deli foods. We lived together, we shopped together, we went to school together, we played in Penn Park together in the South Madison Neighborhood Center, together in harmony. That's South Madison. It was home to anyone who didn't feel like they had a home anyplace else. Traditionally, it's where the Black community, the Jewish community, the Italian community lived and worked and learned of each other's culture. So we understand diversity. It wasn't called it was just called the poor neighborhood in South Madison back in the day. But we knew how to work together to bring out the good of each other. And because it was a melting pot and allowed us to have Black cultural spaces and Black innovators and Black businesses, we also saw Black leaders like Mae Mitchell and like Mrs. Mary Kerr and Richard Harris and others, Pastor Dawson, and we could live with them and interact with them. And because we saw Black progress, Madison felt like home to us. There was great pride, cultural ownership, home ownership, and representation. The impact of this is that it will welcome the broader community in to be enriched by understanding the rich tradition of inclusion and excellence and survival in spite of all of the entanglements that people of color have experienced in South Madison. In any vibrant community, successful people need to see themselves. It's why we have theater districts downtown in many major cities, because it reinforces a sense of placement and excellence. People of color deserve and need this as well, and we need to model this in South Madison, a place where we grow on our cultural identity and we welcome our neighbors to come in to celebrate it as well.
Thank you, Dr. G. My next question is for you, Dr. Anthony. Would you please speak to the significant economic impact of the overall investment in South Madison and how that will benefit South Madison, how that will benefit Southside families, neighborhoods, and the broader Madison community?
Thank you. First, there has been a tremendous underinvestment in South Madison for many years. I've been here for 35 years, not as long as Dr. G, but I've been here a long time. Now an investment, has to be made. It doesn't make sense for all of this wealth to be built through gentrification and changes, and we stand on the sideline and look in. South Madison is changing very fast, and I think that black and brown people have to participate in the economic transformation that's going to happen there. We've been sidelined long enough. The collective investment, on South Madison is going to be the game changer. It's not one project that's going to make a difference. It's the collective of all these projects that's going to change. South Madison with the BRT coming down Park Street and all these changes, it's really going to be a destination. When people get off that belt line to come for football and basketball games, they really need to see all these things that are going on in South Madison. They can go a little further. They can see what's going on with One City, which we consider as part of South Madison, but the Center of Black Excellence, the New Century Hispano, Mount Zion Family Life Center, Madison College, and many other things that are going on in South Madison is going to be transformational, and the economics around there will be there, but African Americans and brown, Latinos, Asian, and others have to be included in those changes that are happening. We expect to bring a couple hundred businesses there to really help along with this economic transformation. So there'll be lots of wealth building there, and we have to be a part of it.
All right, Luke's question, of course, is for Karen Menendez Coller. Dr. Coller, where has increased support and resourcing led to expanded programming at Central Hispano, and how has that strengthened plans for the intersection between your organization and other South Madison projects?
Yeah, I think, we've been very intentional at Centro about the importance of the work that we do there, because for a lot of us, the work is very personal. 95% of the team at Centro, myself included, have always grown up in neighborhoods like South Madison. We think they're beautiful. We think they're integral to a thriving community. And so our partners at the table, when it comes to developing all the different programs that have grown over the last 10 years, have really been at the table. It's not a funding relationship, or it's not a relationship where we seek advice and then kind of do our own thing. Everybody is at the table to build programming that's going to be supportive for our community. One example is our healthcare track, our CNA track that now we're trying to expand through this campaign into a nursing program in partnership with UW Health, one of our employer partners. But programming that really touches on not only the bilingual, the language-based needs, but really the trauma of what it means to be an immigrant in this country, and what it means to be an immigrant in Wisconsin, what it means to be an immigrant in Dane County and in Madison. With the support from the Oscar Renenbaum Foundation, when we needed to expand our programming that we do in partnership with the schools, they came to the table. Now we have a partnership at Sherman that feeds into La Follette, and actually Senate that feeds into La Follette, and we're able to expand on that work. And so everything has been very intentional along the way. I see Bob here. The Madison Community Foundation, when I started at Centro, was very intentional in supporting the capacity and the growth of this organization, because it's an important place for the community. Now, as we move forward to Campaign Centro, those relationships have mattered. We built the trust, we built the understanding, and they understand that for Centro to thrive and the community to be successful, we need to all be on board. I'm able to bring that knowledge in partnership with the other projects that are being talked about here, because it gives me a little bit of breathing room. That gives me a sense that those relationships are developed, and I'm able to now have conversations about what the future of South Madison will be. I try to go very fast because I keep looking at Teresa and her 1 minute things, and it was very distracting, I gotta say.
You wonder why they gave me the mic, right?
Thank you.
Okay. So, you guys are actually doing pretty good on time, actually. Yeah, you are. So thank you, Beck. Thank you very much. We're sorry about the time thing, right? But it's Rotary. All right, so we have one final question for each of you. And then I'll turn the mic back over, the podium back over to President Paul. All right, so Dr. Anthony, why don't you go first? So could you please tell us in about a minute how these projects on the south side intersect in in looking at the intersection of the projects, tell us why you feel like they're the most important to the overall vitality of South Madison and the broader community.
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, it's not one project, it's the collective projects that's going to change the aesthetics. People will see a visionary change when they see all of these projects happen. For our project is much like the research park. Alex's project is quite like the Overture, but we need all these different community assets to be in South Madison. When we talk about having an economic engine, I think about a conversation that I had with Kevin Conroy, and he says that your project is like the research park. He said we started small in the research park and we grew. We'll have that same thing in South Madison, but it's all of these assets that we're going to grow in South Madison that's really going to make the difference, and you'll see the transformation. Transformation happens when it's a collective like we have, and so this is just the start. Our projects are just the start. We are going to ride with that gentrification and make sure that there is diversity of that vision, and we are excited that we have an opportunity to help craft what that vision is going to be for South Madison. She's got that stop thing up again.
Thank you, Dr. Anthony. All right, Reverend Dr. G, if you could please possibly give us some feedback or understanding of how the entrepreneurs are being selected for the Enterprise Center.
Sure. People will self-select, but also we see so much talent that's around our community that I believe that people will tap folks and refer them to others. I remember when I came on the scene wanting to create Nehemiah 30 years ago. I was in my mid to late 20s, and people started putting me in touch with the Susan Phillips and the Bob Cooks and the Jane Colemans and the Madsons, and people who knew about Downtown Rotary, the Madison Club, Leadership Greater Madison. They tapped me and said, these are places you need to grow in order to grow your cachet and your ability as a leader. So I think we have our eyes on people. We just don't know where to direct them. So we will depend on the broader community to say, who are these brilliant folks who need space to develop their leadership, to need a cohort with whom that they can use that or grow in that area, and let's figure out how to keep them in this community. We currently offer, we call it the Justified Anger Leadership Institute. Employers actually refer those people to us, and I tell them on day one, I need you to stay in Madison, not to carry out my agenda, but to create your own that makes Madison home for you. We just want to see that done on a larger scale.
Thank you. And lastly, Dr. Coller, if you could articulate, you've talked a lot about Central Hispano and the work that you're doing, why it's important, but if you could share a little bit about what motivates you to do the work and to become a part of the project.
Truthfully, I think I mentioned this work is very personal for me, so it's not really a job. We see the need, the extreme urgency to try to provide the right kind of supports for our community that's growing so fast. I have two young girls. We chose to move here to Wisconsin with my partner because I lived in other cities and I know how things can go. And I think this space, with the tremendous amount of capital that is here, stands to make a difference if it's done right. If we pay attention to listening, to understanding, to building relationships, to having a conversation like this, maybe next time on the South Side. And every time I'm in spaces with these gentlemen and so many other different faces here that really mean a lot to me personally, that's what keeps me going. Because I know that we are all really believing that the city and this county and the state deserves to be a thriving space for all of us. So it's a very personal journey. The work is incredibly hard. Trust and support goes a long way because we understand the community. We just need to be able to do it together in a way that everybody brings their assets and is able to move things forward. So
thank you for that. And we'll turn the guests. Let's thank our panel. And with that, I will turn the podium back over to President Paul.
Awesome, thank you for that. And incredible. Tressa, great job leading that, and really nice to have you back here up at the podium again, and all you've done for Rotary, so thank you for that, Tressa. And what an honor to have these leaders here with us at our Rotary Club, isn't it? This is what Rotary is all about, is having these conversations, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time and preparing for this event today, so thank you for that. And if you signed up for one of our Rotary vocational luncheons, I hope you enjoy your assigned location next Wednesday. And with that, we'll see you back at the Park Hotel on October 5th. We are adjourned.